Hi everyone, it's Richard from Homeschool Freedom Club. We've got another interview in the series that I'm doing just to try and inspire any parents out there that aren't already home educating or who are maybe struggling to find an income, to maybe inspire you with talking to people who are doing this in different ways. So today I've got Anne with me, and welcome Anne, lovely to see you.
Thanks very much, Richard. Thanks for inviting me on as well.
Oh, no, you're very welcome. So, looking forward to chatting with you. Can you just give us a little bit of information about yourself? You know, sort of who you are, how many kids you got, where you are, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. So I'm Anne, and I've got two children who are currently 10 and 8. One of them's just about to go to 11 in a couple of weeks' time. We're in the Peak District in Derbyshire. Very lovely, but very cold and wet. And I've got also my husband is with us. We're a unit of 4. Yeah, and we've home educated from the off, from the beginning. My eldest did go into school. She tried flexi schooling
Hmm.
when she was about 6. Um, the reason for us doing that was, I think, societal pressure, peer pressure from family and things like that didn't work. We knew it. We knew it wouldn't work from the beginning, I think. So she was in there for probably a month, just one day a week. Absolutely crushed her. Awful. And my youngest has never been in. Yeah, um, we've followed the path since.
What was it that made you decide that that was the route you were going to take, that you wanted to home educate?
Well, I used to be a hairdresser. I was a hairdresser for years,
Hmm.
and I used to have two families that used to come into the salon that home educated,
Yeah.
and I used to think this was the most random, bizarre, like, how can you do this? You know, that reaction was just like, what? I was just fascinated. And it was just that there was a real just feel towards it that was just like, wow, this is what I want to do. And they were just amazing. The kids would come in, they'd sit, they'd bring their books, they'd read, they'd have intelligent conversations, they would, manage themselves. And then you'd get school kids coming in that were like, ah, totally different kettle of fish. There was a distinct difference between just the families. So I did a lot of talking to the two families that came in, and kind of from that point onwards decided that if I ever had kids, I didn't even want children at that point, but if I ever did, that would be the route that I would want to go down. So that's kind of, it was just exposure to it through my work. Um,
Wow,
yeah.
that is really quite. Oh, there's a heck of an echo there. Can you hear that? Or
No, I didn't hear it. Is it okay?
okay, that's better. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that they made a heck of an impression then.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you didn't even have kids at that point, and
No,
yeah,
I don't know what it was. It was just something almost, in here that was just like, yeah, that's if you do it, then that's the way to do it.
yeah,
I mean, there's lots of reasons why we did, but in the end, I went through a really, really difficult time with fertility and actually having my children.
mhm,
So I had 8 pregnancies and ended up with 2 live babies, my beautiful babies. So when I got them, the thought to me, my first overriding thought was fear of school, because it was like, I'm not giving anybody my children.
right,
So there was a real guttural feel that I'm just not giving these 2 precious children to anybody.
yeah,
Just wasn't going to do it. And then through that, and already knowing about home education, I just did an awful lot of research from when my eldest was first born. I used to go to the home ed groups, found out where the local home ed group was, and take her along just to talk to the other adults, just to find out their stories. What are you doing? How do you earn a living? How do you do it? What do you have to do, don't have to do? And probably spent the first 3 4 years of her life, just not all the time, just once a month or something, and
yeah.
just finding out about the community and what's available. um yeah.
That's really wonderful, and how great, to find the community early on as well. I mean, that's one of the things we lack out here in Cyprus. Really, it's very difficult to find other home
Is it?
families. Yeah,
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 yeah. I have got really lucky. Even though we're in what some people class a very rural area,
yeah,
we have a huge community. And for anybody out there that is even thinking of home editing, I would definitely recommend, even if you hate social media, Facebook was a really, really good place. Just because we all tend to have, it's like this home ed High Peak, this home ed Glossop, all the local areas have a Facebook page, and it does help you find out who is around
yeah,
and what's available, because you only need to find one other home ed family to hopefully then get into the networks and the WhatsApp groups
yeah.
and things like that. So that would definitely be, it's what I always say to anybody that's interested, whatever age you're thinking of doing it for the kids, find your community, find your tribe, because they will help you.
No, it's true. I mean, when we lived in Somerset, we were very rural as well, and it actually turned out there was a home ed group that met in our village hall. Random,
Brilliant.
completely random. It
Yeah,
was so good. It was like a 2 minute walk away.
yeah, yeah.
So how do you support yourself in home ed? Because I think you said your husband does work. Does he work away from home, or is he at home working?
No, he's at well, he's supposed to be remote that he works, but it's not. So his finance, his money is what mainly runs. That was a decision we made right at the very beginning.
Yeah,
I remember being on the top of a hill somewhere saying to him, my next job is to home ed the kids, and you're going to earn the money. So yeah, he works in he's out and about most days. He does do a couple of days at home, but it is me that's doing everything, Monday to Friday, pretty much. Um, so yeah, it was a big decision, because obviously two people can earn a good living, and then he has to earn enough for us to do what we do. I have, though, since changed what I do, and I am molding it around the kids as I'm learning, as I'm going along, which I can tell you about in a minute. But yeah, there was a decision point that we had to make. That was, I had a business, I had a hair and beauty salon, and
yeah,
I said, I'm going to sell it. That's my next role is, to be mum and to
yeah,
home educate. It was a big decision. As somebody that's always, well, for the last 20 plus years ran my own business, been completely financially independent, bought my own home, all those kind of things, to make that decision. But I think when you know, and when you do your research, and depending on your kids, because all children are different, but you make that decision, there are ways and means of doing it. But I understand there's also a lot of people out there that are single parents, lone parents that are doing it as well. It's but it's a decision that we made. So we live in a very small house. We don't spend a lot of money on stuff that perhaps we would have done. We cut the cloth accordingly.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's a really good point. And I mean, my wife and I, we kind of share the sort of the home ed duty. So we neither of us have like 9 to 5 jobs, although we do both earn incomes. But that gives us the flexibility to work around each other as well. It means one's not sort of constantly with the kids, which I know that can be, that can present
Really hard.
challenges.
Yeah.
And there are good days and bad days for sure. But it also enables us to get out there and do our own thing, and to express ourselves the way we want to express ourselves
Yeah.
as well. And so you were saying that you're now finding your way, and of sort of earning an income around your children. And I think
Yeah.
this is where I really want to sort of dig into, because that again there's a whole bunch of parents out there with a similar family situation to yours. But mum's at home, she's thinking, well, okay, it's great being with the kids all the time, but I need something for
Yeah.
me as well.
Yeah.
And so what I want to talk to you about is, what do you do? And how do you fit it in around working with the children?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that is the best piece of advice I was ever given by somebody when I was talking about home education. She said to me, you have to make time for yourself. Even if it's, you go away a couple of times a year, even just for a weekend, and you either see a friend or you sit in a field, self-care is so important on this journey, on all journeys, but on this journey, absolutely. So when I had the children, so I'd sold my salon, I was still working as a hairdresser there. I had a little place that I was working, because the whole fertility journey was, are we, aren't we, are we, aren't we? So I'd kept working, and I needed to afford to. So for the first 5 or 6 years of the kids being little, I was still hairdressing part-time. So I'd take the kids with me to people's houses, or people would come here, and I'd have them in papooses on me, and I'd be doing hair and nails and things like that. And it worked. It worked while they were little, while they were containable. But then various things happened. COVID happened. And I just realised that I couldn't do, it was almost like not full-time hairdressing, but it takes a lot to go out there and be with people. But then when you've got small children as well, they need your attention. You can't just say, right, park them and do. So anyway, so COVID came along, and I couldn't hairdress anymore, for one, because never in my life did I ever think that that was going to happen. I thought I'd got a job, a trade that you will always be able to do. Anywhere in the world, you will always be able to do it. So that was a big eye-opener for me. But also lots of other things were changing at the time too. I decided I'll try and put it in a nutshell, because a lot happened. But in a nutshell, so my dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer, which was massive. Any parent losing a parent. And I'd made the decision to give up alcohol. So I stopped drinking alcohol, and one of the things that opened up for me was time, energy, presence of mind, just so many things. Plus my father's illness. So I turned very much more to more of a spiritual path. And I retrained to be a life coach. And the life coaching came off the back of being alcohol free, because the group that I was being alcohol free with did the life coaching. So I'm now a fully qualified life coach, but I've got a specialism in helping people change their relationship with alcohol.
Right.
And I thought that was going to be me. I thought, I was done there. That, I'll help that. I did stuff online, one-to-one. I could work that around the kids. So weekends when my husband can have them, evenings, I'd do sessions online with people, and I still do. But then it wasn't enough. So I've also retrained to do, I'm a mindfulness and meditation teacher. And I've retrained to do forest bathing. So forest bathing is the ancient art of Shinrin Yoki, which is taking people, groups of people or singular people, out into nature. And it's mindfulness in nature. But look it up, or drop me a message if anyone wants to know about it. Because for kids, it's absolutely amazing. Anxious, ADHD kids of all, ages and experiences. And I now run women's circles, online and offline. So in the local community, I do them, and online. And it just very much, there's lots of different aspects to all of what I do, which I think, like you say, that you do it in between, with your wife and at different times, and it fits, but it also feeds me. It feeds my soul, which is so important. Something that I did that was really important to me is I kept my kids' placentas. And it's, worldwide and ancient traditions has been to bury your placenta, give it back to the earth. No, it's a bit of a random turn, but because I did that ceremony for myself, and when my kids were old enough, they were, I think, 8 and 5, we did a full ceremony. I now do that for other people.
Okay.
So, for other people that want to, we do it online, or we can do it, one-to-one, or I put boxes together for them, because for a lot of people, that change from being, to a mother is so big. And it's not recognised, it's medicalised, and it's, you have your baby and you carry on. This is a real way of helping other women, like it helped me, and gives the children a real connection to the earth as well. Sort of full cycle, full circle. And I'm trying to say it all really quickly, and it sounds...
No, we've got time. There's plenty of time. Don't worry about being quick. That's a really beautiful thing as well. And I mean, you're right, because I remember, I mean, like I've got three kids, and I remember with all of them, the focus is very much on the pregnancy and not what comes after, isn't it? You
Yeah,
know, and and it can be. I remember, especially with like my oldest, it's just it's like, oh, what do we do now?
yeah.
There's just that whole focus getting to the point of birth, and then, hmm.
Yeah, and there's so many women out there that have birth trauma.
Yeah,
There's this you can research this whole thing about birth trauma for the children, and which I never knew at the time of having my kids, and birth trauma for the mums and the dads. It's this huge transition that we go through that used to be very community in the community. There'd be elders present, there'd be healers present, there'd be, whoever you needed, and the mums would be very much cared for and
yeah.
the dads would also be part of that. And as you say, it's all right, let's get you to having your baby, then go home and deal with it, and you'll get a visit off a health visitor or somebody, which yes is great. And we live in a world that helps a lot of people, but for others it's so much more than that, and they need to do that, and ceremony and rituals help people to do that, which is what I've found very much so. And it's all from my own journey,
Yeah,
and it's all from watching the kids as well, and watching how much they have picked up and loved the ritual and the ceremony. This isn't just me doing it with the adults, it's doing it with the kids as well. Yeah, and it's been fascinating.
I want to go back to forest bathing as well, because that intrigues me. And obviously, you live in a beautiful part of the world with lots of amazing countryside around you. I mean, you're saying kids with ADHD and what have you. It helps them just become more grounded, I guess, more present and
Yeah.
out of their heads. Is that the way it works?
Absolutely. And for all, it's not just for kids with diagnosis or non, it's for human beings. The research has actually been done in Japan, but now the Forest Bathing Institute has done it in the UK as well. And getting out into nature and getting into the woods and being mindful regulates blood pressure, regulates, anxiety, can help with mental health issues, helps to fight cancers, helps with your immune system.
Yeah.
Endless benefits from it. It really is.
That's, I mean, years ago, when we lived in the village in Somerset, I used to go. I'm an early bird, so I'd be up at 5 or 6 in the morning, especially during the summer, but in the winter as well, and just go for a walk, and that really it set me up for
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah.
It really did, and find a nice hilltop to meditate on, or just in the rain, in the wind, whatever.
Beautiful.
And it was just absolutely wonderful. And we live in town now, and I really miss that. Honestly, I mean, we're very
Oh.
near the beach, so I
Well,
get.
you can beach bathe this whole thing because
Yeah,
they did look at this about forest bathing and then looked at it for the coast because obviously there's a lot of people that live near the coast that don't have greenery. But
yeah,
if you get yourself, and again, it's about just getting barefoot, get your feet into the sand or the stones,
yeah,
into the water, coming out of this, coming into your body. And it's your senses, smelling, looking, touching. And you can do it, at the beach. Absolutely try it and get the kids doing it too, because it really does make a difference. Instantly, your body does just start to get into its parasympathetic nervous system and just go, oh, yeah,
my little boy is, well, both the kids are termed as highly sensitive, but he's particularly so. But I find, you take him to the sea, and he'll just stand. Whereas normally he can't sit still for more than a couple of consecutive seconds. He will just stand with his feet in the water, he'll stand on the sand, and he'll just look at it, and he'll spend half an hour, or he'll go and sit on the rocks, and it's like for him, it's like meditation. Or you find him just rolling around on the stones or in the
yeah,
in the sand,
yeah,
and that
yeah.
sort of resets him.
Yes, but it does, and it's not, you're not imagining it. It's
Yeah,
actually research. If you ground yourself, if you can get as much of your bare skin as possible
yeah,
on the ground. I mean, people are selling earthing bedding now and earthing mats for under your computer and but literally barefoot or any of your body in contact with the earth, and it just draws all of that energy
yeah,
back down into the earth, and it's magic. It really is, because that's who we are, isn't it? We're all energy,
yeah,
and it's resetting us, because we live in these boxes. We live with lots of not natural materials around us. We dress in non-natural, we cover ourselves in it.
yeah.
So to get out there, rain or shine, like you said, even if it's raining on the top of a mountain or getting your feet in the sea, it's just it makes a difference.
Yeah, yeah, it really does. And so how do you put this? I mean, obviously your kids are a little bit older. You said they're 8 and 10, so I think that makes life a lot as they get bigger. It gets a bit simpler, doesn't it? Because they're more
Thought it
able
did.
to. But I mean, do you have like a particular routine or a schedule, or do you have fixed times when you do things, or is it very much on the fly for you,
The home ed or the working?
or just working everything
Yeah,
together?
just everything. Well, yeah, it's it's a little bit of both. I mean, me and my husband now have realised that we have to sit down and we have to get diaries together, and I have to say, right, I've got a women's circle on this evening, and I've got, a women's Zoom on this evening, and on this weekend I'm doing forest bathing, and we have to very much, have our calendars, and
Yeah,
he will, to give me space, he does football on a Friday night. So the kids, he takes them to football on Friday. One of them plays in the league. So she goes and plays in the league on Saturday morning. And that's his job. His job is football.
yeah,
So I know that they're out doing what they love. And my other one goes with them because she loves to play with the friends that are there. And then, so that's when I'll do my coaching or do my circles or, whatever it is. I can get away with doing bits during the day. I mean, it's like this, they're outside in the garden, it's chucking it down, but they're outside in the garden playing. And, they know, I know I can get away with an hour to do this with you now.
yeah.
We're not very structured on the home ed front. We kind of have, peaks and troughs with how structured we are. Yeah, no, we're not. We do certain classes, we do meetups, we get together with friends. There's a flow to it, but it can change and it's changeable. And that's another great thing about it. We like to go away a lot. We like to do as much travel as we can. We used to have without my VW camper van at the moment, and we used to, so we can go off out of holiday season. So you can make it cheap. You can get in a van, you can get in your car, you can get your tent in, and we can go to Europe or Wales or wherever. So there's lots of benefits from not being in the system to get things cheaper. So we do that, but we just make it work. It's not easy. I'm not sitting here going, anybody can do it, it's dead easy, it's dead simple. It's not.
Yeah.
It's hard work, and it it's it takes a lot from you as parents, and but it is possible. It's the art of possible, isn't it? If it's something that you want to do and you know that your children are going to benefit from it, please, 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 please find people like us that are doing it and find out what and how. Because it's like when I was doing my retraining, I was like, how can I retrain to be a coach? I'm going to have to put, a certain amount of hours in. I just can't. And I was kept saying, I can't. But then it was like, no, I can, because I found forest schools that were available. So while they were in forest school, I knew I had 2 hours to sit in my car and get the work done, or I'd say to a friend, or we don't have much family support. We don't hardly have any, but we got a couple of hours with a grandparent to say, I've got to do this. Can you have them?
Yeah.
So it again, it costs on what, it depends what funding you've got, how much you've got available to you. Well, your kids are little, lots of forest schools will take, if you're in the UK, I don't know what it's called, your tax free earnings, don't the vouchers or whatever you can get. So instead of having them in either childcare or preschool, you can use them for some forest schools and stuff. But yeah, we make it work. We make it work, but it's really important that you make it work for yourself. For you as a pet, as a human, first and foremost.
Yeah.
That and it's got to work for the kids. But you've got to look at the self care is so important.
But I think you made an important point there. It's not I can't. You need to reframe it as a how can I,
Yes.
don't you?
Yes.
And once you start looking at it from that perspective, it really changes
Yeah.
everything. I mean, I've experienced that myself. I was very much an I can't person in the past, and once you start saying how can I, you generally you will find a way. or what?
Reframe it. It's all you need to do, reframe it. And that was one of the beautiful breakthrough points for me when I did my coaching, because I took on people to do case studies with for my coaching. And it was fabulous, because one of the first people that I obviously manifested was somebody that wanted to she wanted to change her relationship with alcohol. That's what she came to me for. But then she found out I was a home educating mom, and she was like, well, I've wanted to do that for years. And in the end, I ended up coaching it on the alcohol, but more on the how to of home ed. And it was beautiful. And she took her baby out of school, and they're still home educating. And again, it was just the family repairing. It was just so beautiful to watch her think go from I can't to I absolutely can. It, you know, I just need to find out how. And you know, it was just the empowerment of her reframing and knowing she was a single mom. She had very, very minimum money available to her, and it worked.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You were saying that your home ed looks very unstructured. Ours does too. And like you, they've got certain things. There's certain things that they want to do. Like my son, he's into the violin. Well, I can't teach him violin, neither can my wife. So he has lessons and bits and pieces like that. So there are ways of sort of carving out a little bit of time for yourself during the week. But I mean, it doesn't have to be structured, does it? I mean, that's the point. I mean, we are more into unschooling than anything else anyway. So it just varies day to day, quite honestly, But the thing is, again, for us, it is getting a little bit easier now. They're getting a bit older, 8 and 5, and you can sort of leave them to their own devices for an hour, as you say, just to get things done if you need to. And it does get simpler. I mean, obviously, you've got a young baby. When they're not mobile, again, it's relatively easy, isn't it? It's when they start moving around that
and there are ways, isn't there? There are absolutely ways. I mean, like you say, you just outsource what you can't do. I mean, the internet now, gosh, there's so many resources available to home ed families. And it's things like the home ed tuition hub. It's £2, £2 for a lesson. There's so much free stuff. There's it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. I mean, yes, it can, but it doesn't have to. There are ways and means of doing it, aren't there? And it's the whole unschooling idea. I mean, anybody that's had their kids in school, I would definitely recommend a period of 6 to 12 months, if not more, of complete unschooling, unstructured learning, because just by, I'm going to the dentist after this, the kids will come with me. They're going to learn so much just from a visit to the dentist, They're learning so much playing out in the rain. They're learning so much when they feed the dog. Life teaches us everything that we need to know.
I've been finding, my 5-year-old, my 8-year-old, he did 2 terms in school, then COVID hit, and that's when everything changed for us. 5-year-old's never even been to a kindergarten. And she's, both the kids are bilingual completely, because mum's Russian. And Alex can read and write in both languages. He's not had any formal lessons as such, And Sophia now, she's 5, and she's just curious about what he's doing, and she's just picking it up from him, and she's actually starting to read. I've never, obviously we read to them, but she's never been sat down and like, you must learn this.
No.
They get motivated, don't they? And then they just, and whatever it is that motivates them, that's what you do with them. And then they just pick it up because they're enjoying it, and they're not in this artificial environment where they're being forced to do stuff that they hate. So
they're like little sponges, aren't they? It will happen. I mean, yes, it may be that if they want to be something, my eldest at the moment wants to be a vet, so yes, there will then be a structure that there'll be something we need to do. But again, for people thinking, the GCSEs, they have to be in school, or A levels. There isn't. There are so many options available, but also the thing that I keep reminding myself about is, even if they don't do any exams whatsoever, my friend was reminding me of this last night, say they get to 18, 19, they might get to their mid-20s and decide they want to be a vet, or decide they want to be something, they can then do an access course. They can then go into college and do college courses or open university. It doesn't have to be in this set period of time, and if they don't do it when they're 15, it's lost forever. As and when they get the the self-motivation, that intrinsic motivation to do something, they'll find a way to do it, hopefully.
Well, yeah. But I think, I mean, there's so much fear around exams as well, isn't there? And yet, I know people whose kids have gone to college, they've not got any GCSEs, but the
Yeah,
colleges will still take them,
yeah,
if that's what they want to do. So there's always a way.
yeah.
So just don't get sucked into that trap of thinking that there is only one way, that they have to do exams. I mean, I did O levels. I'm that old, and I've never ever been asked to present a piece of
Yep.
paper, showing what qualifications I've got
No,
with any job that I had before I went self-employed
no,
20 years ago. So it's
yeah.
just, yeah,
And a perfect example of that, you say you've never been asked to show your qualifications. Funnily enough, my husband was redoing a coaching course as well through his work. And they said that you need to have done your maths and English. He said, well, of course I did 30 years ago. And he couldn't prove his results for when he was at school. So he had to redo his maths and English. And this is all to do with government figures, because the government want to show that lots of people are doing maths and English. And he had to last year resit his maths and English. He said it was the hardest thing he'd ever done. I think he failed them twice.
that's
To
hilarious.
get the coaching qualification. So it's always possible.
Oh my
Again,
God.
the art of what's possible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, that's incredible. Well, I think we'll
yeah.
we'll leave it there because that was just a great little story. So thank you ever so much, Anne. It's been really lovely chatting to you.
Pleasure.
And yeah, we'll put this into the group in a week or two's time. That's
Yeah,
lovely.
and just put it out there. If anybody wants to get in touch, just do. I don't know how you'll put a link on or something,
Yeah,
but if anybody wants to get in touch to ask anything about home ed or anything else that we've spoken about, then do, because it's really great to just build that community and network. So I'm really happy to speak to people.
that's amazing. Thanks ever so much, Anne. Take care.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Richard, for your time.
Bye bye.